Let's talk about The Exorcist for a minute. Now, I've been doing a movie marathon lately and been doing horror every night, and I haven't watched the Exorcist films as part of this. I have seen them. I've watched them all, I think. But yeah, oh my God. I heard, like everyone else, that Universal and Blumhouse bought The Exorcist for $400 million, dollars, and they're going to do a trilogy. I'm like, how can you spend $400 million dollars on a trilogy when you the chance of you making $100 each, $100 million each out of three of them, there's no way they can make their money back. I don't know what they were thinking. And then I found out something else which is really just worse than I expected. They bought the rights to make new Exorcist films. They didn't buy the old film. I thought they bought the old film. I thought they were going to be able to re-release that and have all the rights and residuals and everything and whatever that you get out of that film because it's a classic and it gets played and revisited over and over again. They just bought rights to make new films. And that $400 million, that doesn't even cover the price of the new films. I mean, this latest film, Exorcist Believer, it cost about $30 million to make, which is pretty expensive for a Blumhouse film, but still pretty low compared to Hollywood films. So it didn't have to make a lot of money to be profitable. But they're already $400 million in the hole, and they're spending another $30 million on the budget. So it's got to make at least $90 million to get their money back for the budget, and then they're still not even covering their share of the $400 million. I know it covers like any franchise things they want to do, any like Universal Hollywood Horror Nights or whatever, or theme parks or games or anything Exorcist they have the right to make now. Like, so they don't own the original, they don't have access to the original, but they have the access to the brand, and they can make anything. And that's sort of the shocking thing for me to discover, that they didn't buy the original films as part of this. And that's why once I heard that the other day, I'm like, I have to do a video and talk about that, because I can't believe I assumed they bought the whole thing. They just bought, anything they do with it in the future, which is just, I don't know how they made such a bad decision. But the film made $28 million domestically in its opening weekend, which is almost its budget, although we all know a film, they only get 50% of that if they're lucky, and a film has to make at least 3 times its budget or 4 times its budget to actually make money back. But it made $17 million international, so $46.5 million worldwide in its opening, which is decent when you consider how much it costs, but then when you consider how much the franchise cost they paid for to have the privilege of making this film, it's just I'm just baffled by how they made this decision, how they managed to screw themselves so hard, and how someone as smart as Jason Blum, who spent my understanding was Universal. I think Universal paid for it mostly, but Mr. Blum has always made these great little small films, horror films, because he knows horror has an audience. They're always going to make they're always going to make a certain amount of money. So if you keep the budget down, which is not hard, because they're basically just people running around in houses in the dark, for the most part, or the occasional, prosthetic monster or something. You can make them on a budget and you can make money. They've always been a staple of the film industry. They've always done well, so long as they don't join that sort of Hollywood trend of obscenely excessive budgets. They should be okay as a genre. But the fact that the production of the film itself wasn't bad. They kept it to $30 million, which is a bit much, but still, it's But the fact that they paid $400 million for the privilege again to make this film, and they're only planning to make 3 films. Now the good news is there's no talk of David Gordon Green, or whatever his name is, the guy who ran the Halloween trilogy into the ground. There's no talk of him coming back. He did the first film, but there's no talk of him. They're not acting like, oh, he's the genius. He's going to be doing the whole, like they did with Halloween, because people didn't appreciate his version and where he took the last film. The first film was great. The second film struggled, but it was a middle film. We sort of expected. The third film was totally abandoned the other 2 films and went totally in the wrong direction, and just was if it wasn't a Halloween film, it's a horror film on its own, it might almost sort of work. But as part of Halloween, it was just, the parts of it are unforgivable. And I watched it the first time last Halloween. I don't know how I'm going to watch it this Halloween. I don't know. I guess I'll watch every other Halloween first. I'll watch the latest trilogy last, and it'll be the last film. And I'll probably end up watching it like during the day after all the other films, when it's just like, okay, this is the last thing. I've got to get rid of this one so I can finish the Halloween marathon off. Sorry about my voice. I don't know where it went, but yeah, I just had to talk about The Exorcist because I'm just so shocked and baffled by the bad deal that they got to pay $400 million for just a plan to make a trilogy with no benefit from the original films. They don't own the original films. All they do is own the IP and the ability to merchandise, make new films and merchandise, them. It's just, the mind wobbles.